Hey Falcon fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome to our Falcons news and rumor video here on a Tuesday. A lot is going on. Rookie minicamp is still going on back at Flowery Branch, getting some news out of that. We'll hear from Desmond Ridder later on in today's video. But I want to first start with trading Deion Jones. Now, this is something we talked about a lot going into the NFL draft, right? Atlanta, obviously Deion Jones is a little bit too expensive. They're not going to re-sign him to a new contract. He's kind of regressed in terms of overall play style and overall ability to be one of the better middle linebackers in the National Football League, which he was back during his prime. And plus now the addition of Troy Anderson back in the April draft in round 2 has made it very, very clear that they are moving on from Deion Jones. Now the question is, will they trade him? Will they keep him one final year, then let him kind of ride off into the sunset, sign with a new football team? That is what we're trying to figure out today. So first thing we need to go ahead and note is that if they do trade him, they'll do it after June 1st. One of those post-June 1st trade designations, because if you trade him before June 1st, you get a bigger cap hit. You trade him after June 1st, you get about a $5 million cap hit, but you also save like $14 million. Now, you could use that to trade for somebody else or extend somebody to a new contract or just keep it and let it roll over to next year, right? Plenty of options there with that money, but trading Deion Jones, I think, makes a bunch of sense. They will just do it after June 1st and not say like tomorrow, right? Let's go and get to SI.com's write-up on this. We have a very good article on this whole thing regarding Deion Jones. Quote, Jones' future with the team appears to be in jeopardy after adding 3 linebackers this offseason. The team also has to make a financial decision to keep the salary cap down after trading Matt Ryan, taking the largest cap hit in NFL history. After extending offensive tackle Jake Matthews and defensive tackle Grady Jarrett recently, the Falcons are going to likely need to make a difficult decision regarding Jones' deal, and it might result in a trade. So the first 2 parts about this is very clear. They did add 3 linebackers, and Troy Anderson is really kind of the guy who would take Deion Jones' spot. I love Troy Anderson. I think Troy Anderson was a great draft pick there in round 2. Goes to a smaller school, not well known from fans who are watching all the pre-draft hype. Like, who's this Troy Anderson guy? Put the film on. He's big, he's fast, he's everything that you want in a linebacker, and very different from Deion Jones being smaller and fast, right? You get kind of a guy who you feel a little more confident in plugging holes and stopping the run, something Atlanta was very bad at last year, and kind of maybe due to the fact that Deion Jones is better against the pass than he is against the run. So the addition of multiple linebackers does make a big deal, or is a big deal, and does make it seem like they will go ahead and get rid of Deion Jones. I just, there's just not a big need to keep Jones. Right, you could say, oh, Thomas, the veteran presence there to mentor the young linebackers. Like, sure, that's not a bad overall argument for keeping Deion Jones. There just isn't really a need, right? After June 1st, you save $14 million. Why not go ahead, get rid of him, start fresh, and kind of go with what Atlanta seemingly is trying to do at majority positions, right? You look at wide receiver, they're getting much younger. You look at quarterback, they're getting much younger. You look at linebacker, obviously getting much younger. They're adding pass rushers to the defensive line. They're very much in a rebuild mode. They're very much trying to figure out the core identity of this football team. And guys from previous regimes or previous football teams who have kind of stopped playing up to the level that is expected of them, like Deion Jones, it makes sense to go ahead and move on from them. So we'll keep an eye out on this. Again, nothing will happen in the month of May 17th today, because after June 1st is when the excitement could go ahead and begin on a trade for Deion Jones. There are teams that need linebackers. I think Washington Commanders are one of them. That could be an option there. So we will follow this back up when we get to June, but good to know now that they could be trying to shop him in the next couple of weeks. Answer down below. Would you trade Deion Jones? Like, very simply, would you trade Deion Jones? Type Y down below for yes. If you would not, go ahead and type N down below for no. Now, obviously, if they do trade away Deion Jones, we'll cover it here on the channel. That's the whole point of this channel here, is that you guys are able to get the latest Falcons news and rumors as it happens. We saw during the schedule release, obviously, a great job there by Harrison, filling in for me and giving you guys the latest on the NFL schedule release on Thursday night. So that's kind of what we do here on the channel. You guys the latest and greatest Falcons news and rumors as they happen. If you guys appreciate that, go down below and subscribe. Hit the notification bell as well. The way you can be notified whenever we drop our latest videos, because sometimes the YouTube algorithm doesn't give you our latest videos. It's like, okay, we posted it, but then you guys don't see it. So hit the notification bell once you're a subscriber, and trust me, you will not regret it. Okay, what was it? 2 days ago now. Let's move into our next story here. The Falcons have added another wide receiver. They're going crazy, adding these lesser-known number 3 wide receivers to this depth chart as we'll look at here. I think there's a reason for adding all of these guys. I mean, obviously they need wide receivers, but there's a more important reason, as we'll see in just one second. So first, they did add Geronimo Allison. Allison you'll recognize as a former Packer, but he was a Lion last year, in case you didn't watch any Lions games. Only played in 3 games, often injured, did not have a catch, didn't do anything last year, and really didn't do anything in 2022 either because he opted out due to COVID. So this is a guy that has not played on the football field since 2019, and even when he's been out there, if you think back to his time with the Green Bay Packers, he's had some bright games and bright spots, but the overall career numbers aren't that impressive, right? It's not like a guy who's been averaging 500 yards a season at wide receiver, 89 catches in 49 games, 1,045 yards, 6 touchdowns, nothing special here. right? There's nothing crazy overall in terms of signing Geronimo Allison. But what it does do is add to this ever-growing list of mediocre wide receivers in the Falcons depth chart. And I'm not meaning that as a bad thing. Like, very clearly Atlanta has an idea right now. Right? London is obviously going to be your number one, and then they're going to throw every single mediocre wide receiver that they can at the wide receiver dartboard and hope that one or two of these guys sticks. I mean, right now you have Edwards and Zacchaeus and Bird and Tate and Hodge and Darby and Allison. Like, that's 8 wide receivers or 7 wide receivers who, not all of them are going to make the roster. And so very clearly, it's going to be interesting to see what they do in training camp. That's when we're going to find out who is going to make the roster, who's going to be an actual competitive and contributing wide receiver on this roster, and who will not overall. In terms of the actual abilities that they have, like, I have no idea what to make of the wide receivers. Like, I have no idea if they're going to be terrible this year, if they're going to be kind of good, if it's going to be like Drake London is really good and no one else is, or if somebody emerges as a great number 2. There are just so many options right now. You can't really decide who is going to be really, the number 2 and number 3 wide receiver on this roster. Like, they traded for Bryan Edwards, okay. Ronald Zacchaeus is the incumbent. He was the only guy who was there, right? You got Bird and Tate and Hodge and Darby, I guess, is kind of an incumbent as well, though he did nothing last year in his rookie season. So it's very clear that the idea is that they're going to go ahead and get as many receivers as they can, bring them all into training camp, and the best 5 are going to make the roster. Maybe the best 6 are going to make the roster. And maybe it is Allison, or maybe it is Bird, or maybe it is Edwards. We don't know. But I'm very curious to see, 1, obviously, who wins these jobs, and 2, can they be an effective wide receiver group? Because, again, just because you win the job doesn't mean it's going to be a good group overall. So, obviously, things are changing here for the Atlanta Falcons. As I mentioned earlier, they're trying to get younger. They're trying to improve here. And even though they didn't have a lot of free agent money to spend on these wide receivers, they couldn't go out and trade for an A.J. Brown or go out and get one of the bigger name guys. They still tried to address it as best that they could with the current cap and draft situation that they were in and have. You guys think, rate the Falcons wide receiver core as it stands right now, scale of 1 to 10. I think it's like a 5. It's not that good, right? The question is really going to be, again, how far can these guys step up? Rate the Falcons wide receiver core, scale of 1 to 10. Let me know down below right now. All right, before we go ahead and keep going here, the Eastern and Western Conference Finals are officially upon us. I think tonight you have Heat versus Celtics. I'm not an NBA fan during the regular season, but the postseason, to me, it's very, very fun. You guys want to bet on the NBA season, do it with our friends at BetUS. Obviously, you see the link on your screen right now. You get a 100% deposit bonus whenever you use our promo code and our link. And so essentially, you put $100 down into your BetUS account, and then it turns into $225 with our deposit bonus, and then you can bet on the Celtics or bet on the Heat. I don't know, Luka versus the Warriors, it's going to be a great matchup as well. That one starts tomorrow. So bet on the NBA playoffs. Do it with our friends at BetUS. If you have the first time signing up, you get the promo code, which gives you the, obviously, 220% deposit bonus. So sign up for that now and jump in on the betting game. I found a story here really quickly from rookie Minicamp. Desmond Ridder has been impressive. And he had a rough first day a couple of days ago based on everything we've heard coming out of training camp. But overall, he's looked good. And there's not much to take from rookie training camp, or rookie minicamp, I should say. Like, they're not wearing pads. It's just a bunch of rookies together. There's no veterans that are mixing in and, catching passes for Desmond Ridder. But everything that we've heard so far is that he's looked pretty good. Now, Ridder, of course, has been at the podium a couple of times in terms of answering some media questions. And he was asked the typical question about, playing behind Marcus Mariota and trying to win the starting job. And he had a pretty interesting answer. I want to share with you guys here. Throw it up on the screen. Quote, Marcus is a guy that's played a lot of games in the NFL. And honestly had a tremendous college career. So you have to give respect where respect is due. Just being able to come out here and learn, but just know at the end of the day, and he knows too, that it's obviously a competition, or else we wouldn't be here. At the end of the day, too, it's not up to us to make the decision. It's up to the coaches, end quote. So essentially what he's saying here is, hey, listen, respect Marcus Mariota, learn from Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota is the guy right now, but Marcus Mariota needs to understand this is an open competition. Like, they have not just said, oh yeah, Marcus Mariota is going to start week 1. Even if they have said that, they don't necessarily mean it. If Ridder balls out in training camp, balls out in preseason, he'll start week 1. But the odds of that happening to me are a little bit slim, just because, as we've seen with rookie quarterbacks, most of them aren't ready to go. And I've raved on the Ridder pick. I think it was a great selection for the Atlanta Falcons, that they got him at a discount with how far he fell in the NFL draft. I'm all for that stuff. But the idea that Ridder is going to waltz in here and win the job week 1, to me, is a little bit far-fetched. I think the ideal scenario would be that Mariota starts, gets you to week 10 in a competitive situation. Falcons get eliminated from the playoffs by week 13 or week 14. Then you kind of have the Patrick Mahomes 3 to 4 game start at the end of the year for Ridder to kind of get your first taste of what you potentially could go ahead and have from him. So I still think that there are plenty of battles to be won and battles to be had, as we will see during training camp. But just know that Ridder needs to do everything he can to try and win this job, and we'll wait and see what happens as we get closer to training camp later on this summer. All right, we'll end with this. Who starts week 1 at quarterback, Ridder or Mariota? Type R down below for Ridder or type M down below for Mariota. I will say Mariota for now, but he won't play the entire season unless they win a lot, which I won't complain about that either, so who knows. Okay, before we go ahead and end, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Mailbag video happening later on this week, so use the hashtag Falcons in the comment section down below to ask any sort of Falcon-related question that I will pull for a mailbag video. So be a subscriber and ask away in the comment section. All right, all day on Atlanta Falcons news and review video. I'm Thomas Mott, signing off. Enjoy the rest of your day.